With wildfires, storms, and droughts burning, pounding, and desiccating the planet, the subject of climate change is increasingly prominent in the media. Governments, international organizations, and businesses have enacted policies and drawn attention to the issue, and so has a man who spent his life living and working among those who are increasingly affected by the effects of climate change. Hal Wackman and his wife Liz live on a farm 60 miles outside Washington, D.C. in rural Culpeper County. They have weathered the pandemic there, which Hal says gave him time to finally finish the book he's been working on. Titled The Carbon Killers, the book is a thriller with a scientific angle.
I obviously could have written a nonfiction book or a paper that was maybe a bit technical. It might have been read by a few policy wonks or something. And I really wanted to reach out with my ideas to regular people who, might enjoy a good story but care about climate.
Hal has drawn on his experience as head of the World Bank in Kenya, as well as his travels around the globe, to craft this novel, which explores a possible future in which nature is responding to a changing climate. In fact, Hal says some parts of the world are already experiencing those effects.
While I was country director in Kenya, it's interesting, it links back to climate change and situations where a lot of people get involved. In consecutive years while we were living there, we had huge storms that was called the El Nino storm, where the Indian Ocean heats up and it generates these intense storms, which really obliterated a lot of the country, huge damage to infrastructure and so on. So we did a huge project to restore infrastructure, schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, all that stuff, from all that flood and rain damage. And then the very next year, consecutive years, there was a massive drought. And one of the worst they'd ever had. And so the rivers dried up and the reservoirs dried up. And so we ended up doing another emergency project to deliver electric power because the hydropower plants were not delivering what they needed to. So
ultimately, though, Hal says he wrote the book because he wants to draw attention to the subject of climate change so we can shape a brighter future for the next generation.
I've got 4 lovely grandchildren now, and I love them. And I don't want to see them inherit a world that's going to be a mess. And we're seeing the effects of climate change now. It's bound to get worse. They're going to suffer the consequences much more than my generation.
The Carbon Killers, a novel by Hal Wackman, on sale now at Amazon.